views and opinions expressed by callers, guests, and hosts do not necessarily reflect those of the Black Talk Radio Network and Black Talk Media Project. Black Talk Radio is new black media for the new millennium.
Gold dinar would have had serious consequences for the world financial system, but may also have empowered the people of Africa, something black activists say the US wants to avoid at all costs.
We're slicing cake. We're slicing cake. We're slicing cake.
Say the US wants to avoid at all costs.
We're slicing cake.
Say the US wants to avoid at all costs.
We're slicing.
Gaddafi didn't give up. In the months leading up to the military intervention, he called on African and Muslim nations to join together to create this new currency that would rival the dollar and euro. They would sell oil and other resources around the world only for gold dinars. It's an idea that would shift the economic balance of the world. Countries' wealth would depend on how much gold they have, not how many dollars they trade. And Libya has 144 tons of gold.
Welcome everyone to Thando Radio Show, brought to you by Black Talk Radio Network. And it's your host, Dave from LA. Just want to thank you all for listening to Thando today. Today is December the 14th, 2016. December the 13th, 2016. It's a Tuesday. Just want to thank you all for listening to Thando Radio Show today. We have a live show for you today. And we're coming to you live from FEMA Region number 6. And I sincerely appreciate you all for listening to Thando Radio Show at any time. If you'd like to get in on the conversation, don't hesitate. Give us a call at 866-510-9025, 866-510-9025, and hit star. Then that way I will see you in queue, and we'll definitely bring you up so that you can have your question or comment made. So you can have your question made known and talk about what it is that you would like to talk about. I think that's very, very important that we do that. So don't hesitate at any time. Jump in, 866-510-9025, and then hit star. I'll see you there in queue, and I definitely will bring you up so that you can do that. So before we get started with today's show, once again, I just want to sincerely say I appreciate you all. So let's get going. First of all, let's talk about, make sure that we're supporting Black Talk Radio Network and all the programs that are brought to you by Black Talk Radio Network by you giving donations to the network to ensure that this network will continue to bring you what you have come to see as so much value for your life, for your family lives, and for the community life, and that is very, very important. And today, it's in today's world, in this moment in eternity, I think it's very important for us to develop. And in that development, I think that the overall truth of things is very, very important to develop us in a more truthful manner. And that requires all facets of our lives to be based in some real benevolent truths, in my opinion. But that's up to you to decide that that's important to you. And if that is, we definitely want you to continue to support Black Talk Radio Network so that you can make this an investment going forward, investing into the future by ensuring that this medium of information, this medium of opportunity, this medium of dialogue, this medium of information will be here for those that we have yet not named. And you can easily do that by going to www.Black Talk Radio Network, and you'll see the donation prompt on the far right-hand margin in green. You can do that there by giving some of your financial energy that will maintain Black Talk Radio Network's ability to bring you programming. So you can do that there. Also, there's right next to the home prompt, there is a crowdfunding digital black media. You can do it there as well. So make sure that you do whatever you can and continue to do that and make this a part of your overall support. And then not only that, start to energize your own agenda and energize your own solutions to things. What does that mean? That means that you actually investing more energy than investing an energy into things that you know or you hope to develop some real solutions. And this is a major. Well, it's very important that we all engage. And we talked about it yesterday. The reason why we are in the position that we're in is because those that are creating the paradigm that which we live in are more committed to that paradigm than we are to one that we know is much better. But see, there's a thing that we have to move away from. We have to move away from the wishbone. The wishbone is something that never, ever brings about any fruitful evidence of prosperity. We're going to have to really get a backbone, and that requires us to do work of things in all things. And it's not really a question of asking, looking at others and asking what are they doing, but it's really looking at you and what are you doing and continue to do. So create your own heaven, else someone else will create a hell to which they will place you in. And I think that is something that we really do battle with here. So Black Talk Radio Network is very, very important, in my opinion, for us to maintain that overall building of the prosperity and to regain some of that which was lost and to reignite our overall sovereign and self-determining direction. So support Black Talk Radio Network. You can do that through your financial energy, and this will help this network to continue to stay vibrant into the future. Also, if you're interested in being part of the social media outlet that Black Talk Radio Network has established in BTR community, you could do that as well. It's right there on the website as well as in the far right-hand margin. Just go down and you'll see a B that's there. You can become part of BTR community for $24 a year. And this is a place where you can actually promote your business, promote some events that you're doing, post things that you know that you won't be adversely affected for your opinion or what you're posting, and don't have to worry about someone else seeing that. And then all of a sudden there are some things that you wanted to do, and they're using that information against you. That won't be actually done here at BTR community. And also your overall identity will not be sold to anyone, and that is critical because I firmly believe that it's time for us to move away from the propaganda networks that the establishment of the paradigm in which we have to defend ourselves with and we have to actually contend with in a position of disadvantage daily actually have created hubs propaganda to ensure that the overall social paradigm is not disturbed. And I do believe that the social media, the popular commercial ones that you see from Twitter to Facebook, are all inclusive in that overall paradigm. And that, believe me, they may not charge you a dime, but they're charging you generationally and destroying you. The generational killers don't need your cash. They want your energy. And in that energy that they are able to siphon from you, they're able to enslave your butt. So very, very important that we get away from that. So you can do that by going to BTR Community and $24 a year for the membership and jump on it. And that's the only place that I post. I'm no longer on FedBook at all. So that's being said there. Also, if you are interested in acquiring real money, not cash. Cash is not real money. Cash is nothing more than a coupon or a note, a promise note that can be defaulted on. Think about how many political promises have been broken. How many social promises have been broken? Well, the key to really, when you want to first look at where all of these promises of the overall paradigm of enslavement has been broken, it starts in a lot of ways is rooted in cash, because cash is a facade of prosperity. It has no real prosperity measures. It's your energy that has prosperity measures, and that is what's so important. But see, what most of us think is that cash rules everything around me. Well, it does when you are paid a slave's wage. And you can break yourself of that by acquiring real money. The most perfect form of money is the precious metals. And I always say you wanted a king is paid, is the wage of a king is gold, the wage of a lady and a gentleman is silver, and the wage of a slave is debt. Very, very important that we move ourselves out of that paradigm and start to energize our own prosperity by having real assets that have intrinsic value that are extremely, extremely important. And many of us aren't schooled in the proper ways of economic behavior that benefits us. I mean, educated, but we are schooled in how to lose our overall energy and to work forever and to not get to benefit from the fruits of your labor, in which truly in today's world, you may think that you benefit from the fruits of your labor, but most likely the true essence of your labor is being siphoned by the overall system. And one of the ways that it does it is through cash. So make sure that you save as a king or save as a lady or a gentleman by getting real precious metals as an asset to ensure and to give you insurance and assurances that your labor is not lost. So you can do that by going to Prosperity Mint. That's PROSPERITYMINT.com, and you can see what's there, what we have in inventory there, and then just give us, then you can email wolf6pack1@gmail.com, and we will definitely make sure that you understand the overall process of what it is that you're doing. So that's what we could be doing there. And we're going to ready to jump into what's in the news. But before we do that, my man, Brother Braggs, has jumped in. Brother Braggs, what's going on?
Yes, sir. Peace. How are you doing today, Dave? Peace to you guys.
Good, brother.
I lost the address for Scotty, man. I need to get that address today so I can get this money to him, man. So I got it in one of my books. So I got about 10 notebooks, man, and they all jumbled up. So I just need the address, the land-based address, one more again. I'm not going to leave it again.
Okay, no, you're fine. And it is, let me pull it up real quick. 1 second. 1 sec, brother. My internet has been working really, 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 really bad. It was funny, Sister Davis said, hey, something's up with the internet.
I got you, Dave.
Man. Me and Sister...
Dave, I got you. Hey, what's going on, Brother Brad? Yeah, it's the address for Black Talk Media Project, obviously, is Black Talk Media Project, P.O. Box 65, Mount Holly, North Carolina, 28120-0065. You could put that on there or leave it off there. This is a small town. 28120. Yes, sir. Yeah. So
I'm sorry, I lost it in one of my notebooks, man.
That's okay. But remember, though, you want to send a money order to pay to the order of Black Talk Media Project, not Scotty, because I've had to return some because they make it out to Scotty, and it's not Scott, it's the Black Talk Media Project, okay? And I'll get you added.
Okay, cool.
All right.
P.O. Box 65, Mount Holly,
North Carolina. Huh? Yes, sir, 28120.
All righty, you're good. Thank you.
No problem. And, you can also find the address for the Bragg. If you get a chance, it's also on Black Talk Radio. Just go to www.blacktalkradionetwork.com. It's on there, too. Hit the crowdfunding digital black media, and you'll see it pop up there.
I'm working with a computer yet, Dad.
Okay. No problem. But, hey, I just want to make sure that you got it, and then we'll definitely move it from there. Brother Braggs. And then anytime, Brother Braggs, you want to jump in, man, you just jump in.
All right. Peace, man, no doubt.
Peace. Well, make sure you hit star. Okay. All right, so let's get into, let me see, I thought we saw Brother Davis was on. Brother Davis is there. When you get a chance, Brother Davis, jump in to tell everyone what Wise Wednesday tomorrow is going to be all about. We'll greatly appreciate that, Brother Davis, when you get a chance. Okay, so let's jump into what's in the news. Let me just pull this up. And like I said, man, Sister Davis was so true. Well, something's up with the internet. My internet has been messing up, and I just thought it was from where we are. It is, but, man, getting on my nerves. All right, so I wasn't able to post a lot in what's in the news for BTR because of that. Today, I don't even think I was able to post what the show is going to be about. Yeah, I did, but it didn't take, I guess. All right, so, yeah, my internet has been really bad. So there's a couple of articles, but so let's go with what we have here, and then we're going to jump into today's show. As always, if you'd like to get in on the conversation, don't hesitate. Give us a call at 866-510-9025, 866-510-9025. Then hit star, and I'll see you in queue, and we'll bring it up. So let's jump into what's in the news. First article of what's in the news. I actually posted that article from Global Times, and that's the Chinese, official Chinese government news outlet. The one China policy can't be used for bargaining. From the Global Times, we posted that one late yesterday, so you all can see that. Very, very good critical article. Definitely want to check that out. Next article came from Reuters. Man, and this is important. Inflation hits Venezuela to pull largest bill from circulation. Inflation hits Venezuela. Venezuela to pull largest bills from circulation. Now, in this right here, you can see that there is, you see someone having some Venezuelan currency, coupons, cream, or what a lot of people call cash, and what some people think is money. I bet people in Venezuela and in India now don't think that cash is money. They got a real education about it now, and they know the importance of it now. But now it's way too late to learn that lesson this way. I always like to say, man, one of the most important things that you can do as a person is that the wise heeds good instructions, while the naive learns from experience. And because we're naive to a lot of things, we learn some things from experience. But there are some things that we don't have to foolishly learn from experience. If we would just be much wiser in our overall pursuit of questioning and our pursuit of real education. Now, in this article from Reuters, it has a picture that's there, and it has some apples, and it has someone with some cash or some currency in their hands, and $100 Bolivar notes of Venezuela. And it says, you can see where it says 6,000 for a pound. I would think it was a pound. I don't know if that's a pound, for a pound of apples for 6,000 of their currencies of 6,000, or is that for one apple? Not quite sure, but either way, that's crazy. 6,000. So just imagine what that means in U.S. terms. Let me put this in U.S. terms. That 6,000. I guess a pound, and we're going to use it from a pound. I guess a pound of apples are roughly around $1.59 a pound. Okay, just take that as about $1.59 a pound. So that would almost mean that for 1 pound of apples here in the United States, with the inflation rate that's in Venezuela right now, this is where the shock comes in. It would be $3,776 U.S. dollars for 1 pound of apples. $3,776 for 1 pound of U.S. apples, with U.S. dollars. And that's the inflation rate. Now, let me ask you, how many of you even have a pound of apples in purchasing power in your bank account? And that's not to discourage because you do or you don't have it. What it is to say is that it's still a pound of apples. Now, is the Venezuelan people getting paid anymore? No. Their economy is in full collapse. And now, because you can see it once you put that in U.S. dollar terms, you can see the importance of you acquiring real money. This is what happens when you have blind faith in the very system of subjugation and enslavement. They always steal from you. They enslave you. For 1 pound at $3,776 of apples. How many will be adversely affected? How many of you will be adversely affected by that, if that was the case? And I would say every single one would be adversely affected by that. The different degrees of the effect of that is going to be determined by the individual circumstance and condition. This is why I'm saying to you that this is going to be a scenario that will be affecting you sooner rather than later. We are closer to it today than we were yesterday. And my whole thing about Thando Radio Show was to get you prepared for that. Now it's on you. Hopefully, the wise will heed good instruction. And there will be many that will fall to by being naive, and they will learn this, and they will have a harsh education from experience. And this is what we want to definitely prevent. So we're going to come back to this article today when we have time, but this is something that I definitely want to show you. Now, that was just for 1 pound of apples. But I do think that the inflation rate will be far worse than that. I can even see that it could be double what it is in Venezuela, or even triple. It could be $1,800. It could actually be $18,000 for 1 pound of apples. And you can say, "Come on, Dave, that's because you don't have any real understanding of what the overall economic paradigm is really working on and how it works and how debt works." The U.S. has 70% of all of its $100 bills. 70% of all $100 bills in circulation are held outside of the United States. And all 70% of it is going to be returning. That's how you get to $18,000 per pound. Man, this is going to be ready. It's up to you, because you won't be able to say that you didn't know if you listened to Thando. So take that with the love that it was intended for you to be motivated to do what you can, how you can. And this is why we have Thando, to bring this to you and to give you some insight on that. Now it's up to you. So next article. We've got to move on before we go to next article from the Daily Wire. Bolden, Russia hacks may have been false flag operation. On Sunday, former U.S. ambassador to the UN and recent Trump Deputy Secretary of State appointee John Bolden challenged the primary intelligence gathering agencies of the United States government, arguing that reports of Russian hacking during the presidential election may not have been what they seemed. So he basically said it was a false flag. And let me tell you, this is the setup for what's going to happen here in the future, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. Next one. This one comes from Press TV. From Press TV, Kissinger urges allies to give Trump a chance. And talking about, listen to the true fullness of human evil is just to hear this demonic entity speak. And that would be Kissinger. And we're going to talk about that today, because the evilness that this celebrity figurehead exemplified is going to have very dramatic effects on you. It is the policy that is going to get you $18,000 for 1 pound of apples. So check out that article. We're in depth. The article comes from znews.india.com. Venezuela closes borders with Colombia. Caracas, Venezuelan President Maduro has ordered the closure of the Venezuelan border with Colombia for 72 hours until Thursday to deal with mafia operations and smuggling out Venezuela currency. The measure came on the heels of the decision to withdraw the $100 Bolivar bill from circulation. So we're going to definitely take a look at that. That's huge. Next article, man, this is, in my commentary on this, I have no words for this. This is sick.
Dave, before you move on, can you answer a question right quick about the last story? Why would they smuggle Venezuelan currency out the country?
Man, Scotty, man, my man Scotty catch everything. Exactly. That wasn't why they closed the border. In my opinion, this is why they closed the border, because Venezuela currency is worthless. What is happening is that they're closing the border so that the Venezuelan currency won't leave its capital controls, so that it will stay in the country, so that the people will not be able to use Venezuelan currency, which has no purchasing power, and go outside of Venezuela to acquire goods and then come back into Venezuela. This is a form of capital controls, just like they have here in the United States. So it's not so much the stopping of the currency leaving. What they're trying to do is they're trying to stop people from going outside of the country and actually acquiring goods and bringing it back into the country. This is a form of capital controls. And the same thing happens here in the United States. The same thing is happening here in the United States through FAFTA and through different means. You can't open up a bank account outside of the United States as a U.S. citizen or any ties to the U.S. any longer without the IRS being notified by that country that you have banking ties to, where now countries don't even want to open up American citizens' bank accounts anywhere, or anyone that has any ties to America. They don't want to offer them any form of banking relationship, because now the IRS can actually siphon and take cash and make that country pay them for having U.S. currency in circulation. This is what's happening. They're trying to keep all of the Venezuelan currency, and they're trying to keep everyone in Venezuela tied to Venezuela, and to actually be the debt bearers of the inflation. They don't want people to get out of the country and be able to get means in which to support themselves outside of their overall system. And that's going to happen here. This is capital control. So that's what's really happening, Scotty, is more of a capital controls, where they are trying to make sure that everyone in Venezuela is going to be enslaved by the overall economic crisis of Venezuela, and not to have any form of relief outside of that. Because what was happening is that people were going into Colombia to get their goods and to actually purchase things. And then they would be able to purchase things and go back into Venezuela and sell them on the black market. This all has to do with trying to curb the black market. This only makes the black market even stronger, but we're going to take a look at that. And this is critical that we know this. So, all right, everyone, check this out. We're getting ready to go to a commercial break. You're listening to Thando Radio Show, brought to you by Black Talk Radio Network. At any time, if you'd like to get in on the conversation, don't hesitate. Give us a call, 866-510-9025, 866-510-9025. You listen to Thando Radio Show, brought to you by Black Talk Radio Network. We'll be right back after these quick commercial breaks.
Make Black Talk Radio your choice for digital black radio. New black media for the new millennium.
Okay, welcome back, everyone, to Thando Radio Show, brought to you by Black Talk Radio Network. At any time, if you'd like to get in on the conversation, don't hesitate. Give us a call, 866-510-9025, 866-510-9025, and then hit star. I'll see you in queue, and we'll bring you up. Scotty asked a real good question. Why would they want to close the borders? Because today was the last day that the $100 or the 100 Boulevard currency, I'm going to say dollars just so that we all know, their circulation of currency in $100 was going to have any form of purchasing power, even though it was diminished. They demonetized it, and it's not going to be in circulation as of tonight and tomorrow. So what they did is they closed the border so people couldn't run out of the country with cash and try to exchange it outside of the country. They wanted them to exchange everything inside of the country, and then this would be the thing. By closing the border, that would mean that they wouldn't be able to have another opportunity to exchange it somewhere else. Now, by them not closing the border, what does that mean? That means all of the lines in Venezuela are going to be even longer, and people with $100 will all be waiting in line trying to exchange those, and then at the appropriate time, nope, weren't able to do it. And then now that's how they lose all of the purchasing power. This is what happens. This is capital controls. So this is what they do, and what is going to be done here. It's been done here before, and it's going to be done here again. And it's going to be so bad when it happens here, because the overall metrics and the overall momentum of debt and the expansion of debt is far greater than anything Venezuela has ever had. Venezuela, by being a part of the former Seven Sisters in OPEC nations, they were one of the largest and the largest oil-producing country in the world. So their overall revenues they were selling oil, but was one of the things bad about it was the only thing that they were selling was oil. And they had a higher standard of living and quality of life than people here in the United States for many years because of the oil revenues. Venezuela wasn't poor. Venezuela's collapse and its economy was intentionally collapsed to steal assets from Venezuela. What assets do you think that they're stealing from Venezuela? Oil. What assets do you think that they're stealing from? What else do you think they're stealing from Venezuela? Their people's energy, their labor. They're working for nothing. 6,000 bolivars for 1 pound of apples. If it's not even 6,000 bolivars for one apple. It didn't say. I didn't see the picture that was there. This is huge. So that's what was happening there, just to answer your question, Scotty. So check this out. We're going to finish up real quick. This next one is What's in Your News. What's in the News? This comes from Bloomberg. And this is how we're going to get to the Venezuelan-style inflation multiple times over what Venezuela is seeing. And Venezuela right now has the highest highest inflation in the world. And the U.S. will quadruple and far surpass that, whatever the rate is at the highest rate that Venezuela will ever be marked at. The U.S. will exceed that far beyond where Venezuela is going, and the overall time in which to do it, that it happens. Now, this comes from Bloomberg. New Jersey wants to fund roads by selling debt to its pensions. This is how you steal everything from the people. This is why so many of us are unaware of what's going on economically, and we think that everything is a conspiracy theory and that it would never happen here. And I say that we think that because we have no damn clue about what we're talking about. This is how you steal the labor of people. What they're doing in New Jersey lawmakers are proposing creating an approach to raise cash for needed work on Golden State Road, on the Garden State Road, because New Jersey is known as the Garden State, selling bonds directly to its struggling pension funds. Your cheat sheet on life. This is crazy. This is crazy. They want to fund roads by selling debt to pension funds that are already collapsed. Let's pull this up. So that got some time. Let's do this. This is crazy. But not only is it New Jersey, it's California. It's pretty much all of once California, New Jersey, and pensions go, Illinois. Once their pension goes, everyone else falls. Everyone else falls. And see, for you, those of you that listen to Thando Radio Show and making the provisions and preparing for that, don't worry about it. Don't try to convince anybody else around you. Why is that? Because if they can't see what's happening, especially as we start to move into it, don't try to overly convince them. Because, see, sometimes good sense is picked up by good people. If things don't make sense to people, that's not your obligation. Don't waste your time, because you have to really get prepared for what's coming. You do what you can. And believe me, this is going to be so dramatic. So here's what it says. New Jersey wants to fund roads by selling debt to its pensions. Proposed bill seeks to sell bonds. What is bonds? Bonds is a politically correct way. A politically correct is always morally wrong. Politically correct way to say debt. They want to sell debt directly to pension systems. Let me ask you something. Do you want your pension system in even more debt? One, it's a Ponzi scheme. The current pension system is set off on a Ponzi scheme. This is why Dallas and in different areas in the country, their overall some of their major pensions are starting to collapse to where they are no longer allowing people to withdraw from them. That's the Dallas Police and Fire, and not only that, it's also in Fort Worth, and it's also in your many pension funds all throughout. Most likely your pension funds are the same way. This is why they never allow you. They make it difficult for you to withdraw. Why is that? Because it's all a Ponzi scheme. They can only pay on a way that they unwind it based on having more people in it than people getting out of it. Why? Because it's never an investment that you were in on your pension. It was a Ponzi scheme. And all these pensions are nothing more than legalized, glorified Ponzi schemes. And the bad thing is, who is going to be the one that is unable to withdraw from that? Most likely it's going to be everyone that's listening to this radio show. Because at some point and at some time, these pension funds are going to go into default. Some people may have got payment. Some people may have lived, through their pension and everything else. That's them. That's not you. And a lot of the baby boomers, the Ponzi scheme was great because the overall baby boomers, there was more of them than anybody else. Now they got to pay those baby boomers, and they don't have the Ponzi scheme capacity to pay it.
Hey, Dave, something on that story I have to ask you or put out there for people to consider. All of these retirees that's around the world that have gone to these other countries because the dollar artificially is more than the local currency, so they get to live like, George Jefferson up in the high rise or something, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But if that happens, these people, where their income gonna come from? Because all their income is their pensions. They gonna be up shit. I'm sorry, they gonna be up, the creek without a paddle, man. Potentially.
No,
if
Scott,
they're
you're
not
absolutely
preparing,
right.
and I'm talking about U.S. retirees, as there was a show on the other day, this guy from Ghana, and we had these people saying black people, well, he was talking about how a lot of black retirees have moved to Ghana, but they still relying on those pensions they could be without income if they do not prepare themselves for that, like what you talk about in the precious metals.
Let me tell you, Sky, and you're absolutely right, and I'm glad you said it. Let me give you my take on that. Here's what's happening. Those people are accepted in those countries primarily because the capital increase or the cash increase or the economic value that they bring to that country is great, so they welcome them. As soon as the dollar collapses, those individuals will be told you need to go home. Or, worse, they're going to take what they have. Last thing, in my opinion, you want to do is to be in a foreign country that is actually dependent upon the U.S. dollar when it collapses. Why? Because the people of that nation and the government of that nation is going to be so upset, and they're all going to look at you as the reason for the collapse. They're going to, and remember, people get jealous quickly. So if you've been flossing inside of their countries and all of a sudden you've been living, high on the hog and everything else, and you haven't had great ties with these people, remember, think about this. When their currency collapses because they're tied to the dollar, they're not going to be able to take care of their own people, which makes you think they're going to take care of you. They're going to see you as as part of the root of the problem. And this is where they're going to tell you need to fund yourself. And not only that, there's exorbitant taxes that we have to get from you because your country caused this. Here's going to be the problem as well. Capital controls is going to kick in. Factor. Those countries are going to have to report to the IRS because you have bank accounts with them there that you have a bank account, and they're going to hit you with all kinds of things. And then you're going to possibly put yourself where you're trapped inside of a country. You better hope that you've been there long enough to integrate yourself into that country, and you have a good reputation from the people that you've been around. Because you are going to be in a world of hurt. Let me tell you, not only retirees going to be in a world of hurt. I hate to say this, but this is the truth. When this dollar collapses, and I do think that it will collapse very quickly, fast enough that U.S. troops will be trapped outside of the United States and won't be able to get back. They won't be able to buy the gas for the planes to get back. And guess what? The respective countries, you got to remember, the United States has overextended itself militarily by establishing military bases throughout this whole world because this is the greatest purveyor of violence, and it is a colonizer, manifest destiny. And when they can't fund, you remember what happened in Turkey during their overall coup? They seized that base. And everybody on that base was stuck. Same thing is going to happen with cash. You ain't going to be able to get home. And believe me, you don't want to be, in my opinion, in some foreign countries. And without a way to get back home, how are you going to just think about this with guys. How in the world would you get back home if you're in a foreign country when your cash is no longer accepted anywhere? How would you get back home? How would you get back to the States? And me, I'd rather be somewhere that I'm familiar with, because I can read body language, I can read voice deflection, I can read, I can hear and understand completely what everyone is saying, and I can feel the energy that's around me because I've been accustomed to it. when you're in a foreign country, and you haven't rooted yourself. Now, there will be some people that have been married into families and everything else, but I hope this is the case. I hope they didn't marry you because you were a rich American, because then they're going to turn their back on you. The possibility of them turning their back on you is going to be great. These are all the things that really need to be put in. You always need to know what the truth is, not any form of, and if you're scared of the truth, then just live your life, and then when things go awry, don't cry. Because you wanted to live in the fantasy world. You wanted to live in something of make-believe that wasn't really true. And because of that, you put yourself in a bad position. And there is no one to second guess than you. And you know this is true. Because deep down, once we turn off what we want and we start to engage in what we need, things change. So with the case that Scotty asked about, is going to be, you're going to find a lot of people, and then there's going to be people out there with families on vacation that get on a plane, they go somewhere and not know the overall global, the geopolitical atmosphere. They go somewhere, and God forbid they go somewhere that is a country that's tied to the dollar, or a country that really doesn't like the U.S., and then the collapse happens. And they're there on vacation with their children, their family, and whatever, and then, oh, shoot, what happened? What was this? Man, too much empire instead of watching the fall of the real empire. And this is going to have a root. I'm very, very cautious of everywhere. I think about what I'm going to do and what the ramifications are before doing it. So in the future, your overall global travel better be very, very keen. You better, because the last thing you want to do, I have a friend, Thomas, that talked about, I have a friend named Thomas that talked about getting trapped in the country one time. Wasn't a fun thing. Wasn't a fun thing at all. I was almost trapped in the country a couple of times. Man, that is not something you ever want to do.
Hey,
you don't
Dave,
want to be trapped in a foreign country.
I
Then
ain't
you
never
realize
been.
something quickly. I'm homeless.
I ain't never been trapped, but I have been targeted as an American in Mexico. They didn't like us because we were American, and targeted us with crime. I mean, I thought we was gonna have to fight for real. They didn't like us because they were calling me a gringo. And that's why I was, why you calling me a damn gringo? What did gringo mean? I thought that meant white. That's not what it means. Gringo comes from.
That's not what it means.
It comes from the green army uniforms of when the United States was down in there, physically occupying them. That's what somebody told me that I had interviewed that's familiar with the culture. That don't mean you white. That mean you American.
You're American, yes. And those sentiments are going to be everywhere. And let me tell you something. The world is exhausted with the overall lifestyle of the United States. And this is why this last selection period was a Make America Great. Do you realize what that means? Make America Great? Sure. You realize it, especially if you're black in this country, you realize what that means. But see, there's also a global connotation to that as well. That means you have a diplomacy by the gun and by debt and by stealing people's assets and enslaving people to work for you for nothing at all, to where your overall quality of life is because someone else is being subjugated to without having in their country ways and means. And let me tell you something. The whole world has been watching the empire of the United States. Many of them in the past admired it, but now they're starting to see the propaganda behind it, and it's exposing what it's been doing, and they hate it because they are being exploited. One of the greatest things that the U.S. exports, let me give you some: violence, drugs, and debt. Violence, drugs, debt, and and political subjugation and enslavement in colonization. That's what the U.S. exports. And the world, this is why that purge is going to be so big. So let me make sure we don't have a caller in queue. Yep, we do. We got a caller in queue real quick. Welcome, caller, to Thando Radio Show. What's your name, where you're calling from, and what is your question or comment?
Hey, Dave, how you doing tonight? This is Jerry calling from Chattanooga.
What's up, brother Jerry?
I'm doing great, man. I just wanted to add on to this, to what you were just saying about the Make America Great and the global, and the globalization that it holds, because Putin was talking about how he liked Trump and this and that, but one thing that he didn't like is the fact that to Make America Great Again, and it goes directly into what you're saying, because he said it puts us on a pedestal. Well, not us, but it puts America on a pedestal as to do whatever they feel that they want to do. Not what they can do, but what they want to do. And you just making a great example of that, and I just wanted to add that in real quick, and I'll mute my line.
Yeah, Jerry, you're absolutely right. And that's what that whole thing was a signal of. You're seeing the setup for all empires fall. And Russia and China are playing the perfect strategical, asymmetrical warfare to actually bring about the collapse of the U.S., which has already happened. And that's what today's show is going to be about. And this is some of the things that you need to know. Because when this thing does happen, the more you know, the better position that you can place yourself in. Because Gary's absolutely right. All the world is starting to respond. They're saying this: no more Americanization, no more manifest destiny, no more of threatening people with economic sanctions. And then if they follow through, then you all of a sudden you invade their country, you steal their gold, you steal their assets, you steal their oil, and then you put their military bases on there, and then now you start to steal their land and everything else. Let me ask you something. How many military bases outside of Djibouti does China have? They really don't even have any real military bases. Djibouti has a small military enclave. How many does Russia have? How many does the U.S. have? See what I'm getting at? The world is exhausted with the standard of living that America has been under. And they are going to bring about the fall of it. And they're going to do it in a dramatic way. But my whole thing is that all of these governments are in one big cahoot. I think the people of the world really need to realize that if they continue to play by the governmental rule book, they will just transport enslavement and the subjugation and the stealing of assets and energy from people from one country to another. And that means that it continues. So, very, very important. Brother Davis, you're there. If you can, jump in real quick. Let us know what Tomorrow Wise Wednesday is going to be all about, if you can, before we hit the commercial break. If not, at any time, jump in. I didn't know. I was reading the article. I wasn't sure if you were in queue, so I missed it because I can't. Once I was reading the article, had to jump out of it. So when we come back, I want to finish this article, do some on yes, Brother Davis. Hey, Brother Davis.
Yeah, it's always good to hear the voice of a friend.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is, Brother Davis.
I was listening to your show. It's right on point as usual. I think people ought to understand that even to make this statement about America being great again has rubbed 90% of the world wrong. And the reason being is because they're understanding what's happening to us economically. So believe me, they're starting to all pile on now, because now they want to see this giant fall. and the responsibility that we should have shown as a people is going to be a backlash from other countries. Because let's face it, America's foreign policy was crap and has always been that way based on white supremacy. But listen, my show tomorrow night is going to be the continuation of the deception. And just to give you an idea of what to think about, how do you think that America's going to react to a revote on the last election? Take your time, because tomorrow night I'm going to open the doors about that, because literally you still have plans in place. Some of you may be familiar with the Alfred Plan, and the Alfred Plan now becomes into play. The NEAA and the Patriot Act, all of these things come into play. So I'm looking forward to tomorrow night's show, and the name of the show is The Deception Continues. All right, brother, I'm going to kick back and listen to you because you're getting it all.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, man, I'm looking forward to that, because the deception does continue. And when you can say that the deception continues, that means that the war continues, because that's what war is. War is deception, and by murderous means. So, man, looking forward to that. Okay, everyone, listen. Tomorrow, Wise Wednesday, Brother Davis will be here with The Deception Continues. Getting ready to go to a commercial break. Rise, 1 sec. I'm going to come back to you as soon as we come back from the commercial break. You're listening to Thando Radio Show, brought to you by Black Talk Radio Network. We'll be right back after these quick commercial breaks.
Distribution of independent digital black media.
Okay.
Black Talk Radio since 2008, providing new black media for the masses.
Okay, welcome back, everyone, to Thando Radio Show, brought to you by Black Talk Radio Network. Okay, I got you, Ross. Welcome to Thando Radio Show, brought to you by Black Talk Radio Network. And we have a live show for you today. If you'd like to get in on the conversation, give us a call, 866-510-9025, 866-510-9025. And if you'd like to get in on the conversation, give us a call there and then hit **. I'll see you in queue and we'll bring you up. Now, one thing before we get going, I want to say this. We put Thando Radio Show together, and one of the things that what I try to bring is I try to give you what's going on, because every person throughout that listens to Thando Radio shows, their circumstances are different. So if you have a question or comment about some specific things, and I'll speak for Brother Davis as well. Your specific questions is very important, because there is no real, there is a basis of preparing, but there's also some selective things that you may want to do depending on your overall situation. And not everyone is in the same circumstance or situation, nor are they in the same geographical area of here. So everyone is spread out. They have different circumstances. So one of the things with Thando Radio Show, what I do is I want to bring you some of the events so that you can see that, oh, shoot, there are things that I need to be doing. Now, there's a specific question about a circumstance, then that's an opportunity that I think that you should take to ask the question. And that's very, very critical, because everyone is different. Okay. Then also we bring the stories about what's happening, and I try to give some historical insight on it all so that you can see where things are going, so that you will start to energize and to realize that there are things that you need to do, and then I really don't, in my overall assessment of life, we don't need leaders. You've been already created perfectly to create your own paradigm of heaven. No one else has to create that or lead you to that. That's what man always wants to do, and mankind wants to do. They want you to worship them individually and to exhort them to into a pinnacle and on a pedestal that's far beyond their overall capability. I never want to be the great creator, God, the great creator. I want to use what the great creator has given me to create for myself and everything that I resonate with around me. So I think it's very important that for you all to know that there are things that you should be doing to prepare for this. But I don't really like to say, you need to do this, you need to do that, I do that for some of the basic things. But everyone's circumstance is different. Because if you're on the West Coast and you're on the East Coast, your overall winter preparing is much different, vastly different. Your family size, your obligations, and everything else is different. So this is where I think is very, very important. If there are some things that you want to know about, some specifics, that would help. And then maybe I know myself or some of the other listeners are on Wise Wednesdays, Brother Davis, and everyone here, we could help each other deal with some of the things, because what I don't want you to do is I don't want you to leave Thando Radio Show realizing that, oh, shoot, and then not know what to do. Well, I don't know, and we don't know who you are. And what I mean by that, we don't know who you are, is that we know you're there, we don't know who you are. And so if we knew who you are, that would definitely help us with giving some insight on some things you may want to be looking at, and then start you off, just like the one sister out of Atlanta. Man, she's ready she ran with it. She totally ran with it, and because it was important to her. At some point, at some time, it became important to Brother Davis. It became important to myself. It became important to Jerry. It became important to Roz. It became important to Scotty. It has to become important to you. Because I believe there's three types of people: riders, pushers, and pullers. And the best thing that the pushers and pullers could ever do is shake off the riders, because they're just there for the ride. So I think it's very, very important for you to use the great talents and the attributes that you have, because they were given to you uniquely. Your unique talents were given to you individually, because that's how your spirit resonates, and that's how your energy resonates, and that's a wonderful, wonderful thing. Use that instead of using the benefits that man creates. Man didn't create your benefits. Man didn't create your talents. Man has created the falsehood of benefits to actually smother your talents. So just wanted to give that before we move on. Okay, so now we're going to move on in the show. Now, what I want to do is I want to finish this up with Jersey so you can see what's happening there, and then take a look at the rest of the other part of the show. We're going to pick up on part 2 from yesterday's show, because there are some things that need to make you aware of, so that you'll know just what this overall unfolding plan, how it is unfolding right in front of us, and why is no conspiracy theory, is actually a conspiracy agenda. So now, New Jersey, current restrictions limit pensions investment to 10% of issues. New Jersey lawmakers are proposing or creating an approach to raise cash. They put money. I don't say that because they're not trying to raise money. They're trying to raise cash. For needed work on Garden State roads, sell bonds directly to a struggling pension fund. A bipartisan bill backed by the state Senate President Steve Sweeney would let the Transportation Trust Fund Authority sell securities directly to the retirement system. There's nothing worse in the world than what you're seeing happening right here as far as pensions go. The only thing after this is them telling you the bonds, we defaulted on the bonds. The bonds yields went up so high, there was a default on them, and we lost everything. We can't pay you. There will be no withdrawals. This is a plausible deniability to say that they don't have the funds to pay you, because when you paid into it, what they do, let me tell you how this white collar crime goes. And I hate this. This is nothing more than just economic stealing of energy. What they did was that for everyone that were paid into a pension, you paid into it every bi-weekly or however the setup was. They gave you a promise. If you pay us now, we promise we'll pay you later, and we'll give you even more. We'll give you even more interest. You'll live good. You'll live good, but you got to pay us right now. And guess what? That the pension fund was already stolen from the time that it was started. This is why they won't allow you to take it out, because you work for. This is why it's never really yours. You got to request it, because they pay you a slave's wage. They don't pay you an asset. They pay you something that they created that you're willing to work for. We're willing to work for what they've created. This is why we're in the paradigm of enslavement. We're willing to be on the plantation. If the slave master is producing and offering crap, and then those on the plantation accept that crap, that's their payment for the labor. And believe me, that slave owner will not accept what they're paying their slaves. They don't see, the system doesn't accept cash. Oh man. See, they always told you to follow the money. But see, they knew that the general population didn't know the difference between currency and money. So the general population would always follow the slave wage. Would always follow the slave wage because they thought that was money. No, following the money never means following cash. It means following the assets. What the slave master is paid. The wage of a king is gold, the wage of a lady and gentleman is silver, the wage of a slave is debt. So now, that's what they promised you. Pay us now, and give me your energy right now. And then we'll take what you pay us, and this is nothing more than revolutionized sharecropping. We'll pay you this, and then you have to give that right back to us. And then we'll promise to give you some more of it later on. Wow. So important that our young people get educated in Economics 101. Cash is not money. So it goes on, the article goes on. A step that will reduce the cost of issuing debt and provide a steady investment return. A step that will reduce the cost of issuing debt and provide a steady investment return. Lie. With respect to the transportation debt, the bill proposes lifting regulations that block New Jersey pensions from buying no more than 10% of this bond offering. Do you hear what they just said? They're going to lift. You see what happened? This was the trick. They told everybody we only invest in your pension in debt, only 10%. But see, now they're lifting that. No, ladies and gentlemen, they never had that in place. But see, they try to use words to seduce you. And they said that they're lifting regulations. This is why Dump was selected. This is why he is going to be the celebrity figurehead, because they're going to be lifting regulations because the country is already broke. This is the deregulation process, ladies and gentlemen, and deregulation process means that you lose everything on the gambling table of the house, because all of the market is nothing more. The market is nothing more than a casino that wages bets, and we place our whole life earnings and our whole life savings on a crap table. And this is the real crap table. It ain't craps, it's crap. See, when they deregulate everything, that means that they are going to be able to have no overall oversight or rules in which to use and lose, but they promise to pay you. Because the system never loses. The system always takes. Those with assets are always supported by those that don't have it.
So, Dave, how can I take advantage of that? Because I'm sitting here thinking of ways. I'm not going to say them publicly, but I feel like any energy can be redirected to put it into the way you speak. So if deregulation is coming, I can see the good in that. Where I may not like it, but let me say only ethical investing. I'm not going to put money into slavery because they're going to need to build more private prisons to put all these Americans in. I'm not going to invest in that. You know what I'm saying? But business-wise, ethically, legally, I'm trying to figure out how can Black Talk Media Project take advantage of that.
Definitely.
That's how we have to think, man. Yeah. Even when the enemy make immoral moves, we behind enemy lines. So how do I use what does exist to my advantage until at a later time I can be stronger to force my energy and will out there?
See, that's the whole thing. That's exactly it. See, when they open up these when they do these things, they also open up the gates for you to do something from that opening that benefits you, that totally benefits you. Now, like Scotty said, I'm not one to invest in. First of all, I say this. Scotty, for an example, you did do that by starting Black Talk Radio Network. I would highly, highly suggest everyone look at tangible, intrinsical value items that you can engage in that are necessary. There are many things that are coming up and there are many things that are around that have intrinsical value. If it doesn't have intrinsical value, don't do it. Now, does that mean that you pull out of all investments and everything else? That depends on you, the individual, depends on your moral compass, depends on you. Now, if you're someone that's going to invest, I would say this. Here's the thing. Understand that you rather have fundamental gains than technical gains. Fundamental gains means that you gain less, but you lose a whole lot less. Technical gains means that you are on the crap table and rolling dice and trying to get as much as you can at all times. At any point in any time, you're going to gain more, but you're going to lose more as well. Know that the whole game is rigged. Know that when you go into the market, you are going in nothing more than corporate gambling. And the house always wins. Just like right now, the stock market is all at all-time highs and everything else, because what they're doing is they're lulling you to sleep for when the collapse happens. And then you just say, oh, cool, I'm cool. One of the most important things is that you have to be your own financial advisor. Find out and learn as much as you possibly can. Become an expert in something that you particularly like and resonate with. And I would say put your energy there, and then you'll find out something that your energy will produce a living physical wage for you.
Dave,
so
I
now,
think you got a caller
like
on the board.
Things,
I'm sorry.
Then get into agriculture.
You got a call on the board. They've been hanging on a long time.
Okay, thanks, Scotty, because I was didn't see it.
I figured you were reading the article. No problem.
Thanks. Okay, let's go to this caller real quick, then we're going to get back to some of the things that you could do. Welcome, caller, to the Thando Radio Show. What's your name, where you're calling from? Which name you're going to use today, and what is your question or comment, brother?
What's happening, brother Scotty? What's up, brother Dave? This
Mel. Well, let me make sure. Who's this? Who's calling?
Yeah, I'm Mel today.
Oh, what up, Mel? How you feeling, brother?
I had a quick question. Me and my wife is in the process of we trying to take all of our, our 401k out and turn it, take our cash and turn it into real money. But they like almost refusing to give it to us. They're making us like we got to do hardship letters, like basically begging them for our money, and we have to have.
Well, let me stop right there. Hold on. You realize why you have to do hardship letters? Because it's not your money. They only made you think that because you're an unsecured investor. You invested with them, and once you gave it to them, it was no longer yours. It was theirs to invest the way that they want.
Hey,
so,
David, listen, I did that. I did
what
that.
I'm saying is, I'm sorry, go ahead.
The rules must have changed since when did I work for Ithaca? I used to work for a textile company. I was in corporate, and but it was a factory there too. And I had bought this course on investing in the market. I know about investing and all. I had taken this $200 course to get this knowledge on how to plot out on a graph sheet of paper. You got, the graph paper and how to watch stock and anticipate the right times to jump in, right time to jump out. It's like you say, it's gambling. And so, but my company allowed me through my 401k to where I didn't have to file no paperwork or nothing. I could do it over the phone, just press buttons, trading stock by pressing buttons. And on during my lunch break, I wasn't gossiping, sitting around talking to people trying to hit on some woman or something. I'm reading the newspaper, Wall Street section, watching my stock. You know what I'm saying? In 14 months, I had put in 1,000 in my 401k, and I took out. I made 10,000, but I had to pay that penalty. I forget the percentage to get it, and I said I don't care. Just give me my check, and I got my check. I took home about 7,000, but again, I only put in 1,000. So the white lady was looking at me, this ain't your money. How you get this money? Give me my check, woman. I didn't quit. I want my money. I'm shutting down my 401k. So they must have changed the rules because it was that simple for me.
Oh, yeah, they sure have. And Mel will tell you. Oh, they sure have changed it. But go ahead, Mel.
But I'm thinking that, okay, now there's a difference between the profit sharing side versus your 401k. Isn't it? So I can understand them.
It wasn't profit sharing. It was straight 401k because I came in the door working a machine, labor. And I worked my way up to a corporate position where I'm dealing with the different companies that they dealing with to make the clothes and to do the testing. So it was just a regular 401k. They didn't have profit sharing. If they did, they didn't tell me about it.
So does it vary from state to state or company to company as far as the rules, or is it across the board?
The plans do. But let me just say this, Mel, because you're spot on. Let me just say this about the profit sharing and everything else. Okay. All that is minutia. And from this standpoint, and you know this, if you want to go outside, let's say you have a basketball at the house, right? You got a basketball court. If you want to go shoot some basket, you go pick up the basketball and you go practice your free throws. It's just that easy when it's yours. When something is yours, you control it. The 401k and everything else is not yours because you don't control it. Because if you did control it, you wouldn't have to ask anybody for it. You would pick up the ball and shoot. So once we understand that and understand that, okay, this is a game and this is a trick that they playing on us, I just need to be asymmetrical in my approach of it all. And you know that, and I know. But for one thing, I want to, for it's not really for so much. I want everyone to really grasp. Once you agree to their terms, remember, you signed their contract. You never had them sign your contract. You never had a contract for them to say, anytime that I want this cash, I call and you give it to me, and you better have it available. And you, before you invested in something, you got to ask me if I want my cash to be put into that. They don't have those terms. They don't. You signed. They didn't sign anything. Mm-hmm. Because the agreement is that you were agreeing on what they were going to be doing with what you gave them and what you invested. You invested in them. And so that's one of the hardest things for us to really grasp. And this is, once you do that, then you look at the whole system different. You look at them as if I got to really watch these feeds.
Yep. Hey, Dave, that's how Thando, when y'all went through the process to become a program on Black Talk Radio Network, I asked you questions about investments based on that experience I just explained to you, because I'm always trying to be honest and upfront with people. And I made most of that money investing in companies that was pushing them indigenous people off their land in the Amazons, but I didn't really know that. What I knew, it was like, I don't want to get into the details. This was like years ago or whatnot, but I came to know that's what I was invested in. You know, I'm looking at it as, I'm investing in minerals and land development companies, and that's what they were doing. After I took my money out, and then I did more research, and that's why then that opened up my eyes, and and then the way you put it, that energy that I was giving to that company in return for some money that I in turn gave back to the system and invested, I used that ultimately that energy was used to oppress non-white people and pushing them off their land and killing them and whatnot. And so, man, you know, and I had asked you that. I asked you, what type of investments are you going to be talking about? Are we talking about conflict minerals? What we talking about?
That's the first thing Scotty asked me. Exactly. That was the exact first thing that he asked me. So true. And that's because that's important. We need to know these things. And then once you know, now you can start to formalize what you resonate with and what you don't resonate with. But go ahead, Mel. Just wanted to make that point before you got into the question. Didn't mean to cut you off, but go ahead.
Well, no, I just was wondering. I mean, because I'm willing to take the hit because they're gonna penalize the heck out of me. I'm with that, like Scotty said. I mean, you're gonna take that, but it's like they'll let me borrow against it, you know, but I have to pay it back. But if I just want to close my account and clear it out, they like, whoa, buddy, let's not be hasty. Is there any way around?
Whoa! You're not gonna bankrupt us. And, what you mean you want this ain't your money? No, you don't get to disclose. Yeah.
We'll loan you some of it, but you can't just clean out your account. So I was wondering if you guys knew of any ways that, you know, I could kind of circumvent that, or but I guess it's different from state to state, so you guys probably couldn't answer that question for me. Yeah,
you know what? But here's what it is. Find out from the investment portion of your the employer that you work with and everything else, what the overall rules of disbursement are. Now, then you have to realize that they're going to discourage you from doing that, because then they're going to say, oh, your tax base is going to go up, which they're going to say you got to declare this. And see, here's the bad thing about this. Here's the thing about it. This is why this is such a Ponzi scheme and a lie. See, you invested what you already worked for. You already been taxed on that. And then they say, no, you didn't get taxed on that because it was deferred. Oh, really? Now, let me ask you something. Is taxes going up or taxes going down? They always go up. So they're deferring you to pay more taxes anyway. So this is what I would suggest. Find out what it is that you want to do. Now, if you do take that money, if you do take that cash, you know that, whatever the rules are, you got to pay it back or whatever, find out what that is. Okay. Make sure that you can budgetarily live with that. And then this is what you do, in my opinion. You move that you split that into multiple things, especially for where we are economically. You move that into something that's going to generate more cash for you so that you can continue to get more cash. I'm not saying don't get cash. Use cash for what you should use it for. Get more cash so you can acquire more assets. And then put a portion of that into real hard assets, real intangible goods. Okay? That's one of the most important things. And there are a bunch of different investments that you could do that have intrinsic value. One of the things is that for me, as an investor, I look for intrinsic value first and foremost. I don't look for the next, because I'm going to tell you, investments are like bus stops. There's always another one that's coming. There's always another bus that's coming. And you have to look at it from where we are and where things are going. So I would definitely look at investing, taking that cash and then moving it into something else that produces cash, okay? And then you also create that cash, and then as soon as you do get some of the returns, make sure you establish a savings plan. Also, I would suggest this. Live way below your means, and probably, which I know you already do, probably a very, very important thing to always do is that when you're going into looking at an investment, okay, one of the things that's very, very critical to look at is you don't want to overextend yourself in any form of an investment. You only invest what you can lose. You only invest what you can lose, what the principal loss could be, all right? And then probably the most important thing is always invest in yourself first. Invest in something that you like, that is important to you, that you can take that and create a living from it. That is probably so important, because when you start to do that, then now you become the overall contract signer. So there's a lot of different things. Mel, call me. Let's catch up tomorrow on Wednesday if you got a chance. Call me and then let's talk off air.
Okay, I will, and I appreciate you taking your time and bless both of y'all's families, man. Peace.
But did that help you?
Yes, very much.
Just be careful about the market. Hey, listen up, everyone. Get ready to go into a commercial break. We got 2 callers in queue, Jerry and then someone from the Strip in Vegas. So we'll call you back. We'll pick up with you guys right when we come back. You're listening to Thando Radio Show, brought to you by Black Talk Radio Network. We'll be right back after these quick commercial breaks.
The Black Talk Media Project funds the use of new media technology in efforts to restore independent Black voices to the myriad of issues affecting Afro-descendant people all over the planet. If media can control the minds of the masses, as Malcolm X once said, then you must ask yourself, who is in control of the media targeting the masses of Black people today? Help bring back independence, self-determination, and respect for Black culture in the production of global media by joining the effort to crowdfund new Black media for the new millennium. Visit blacktalkmediaproject.org for more information on how you can invest in public Black radio for the masses.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Thando Radio Show, brought to you by Black Talk Radio Network. I'm your host, Dave Ring, from your boy Dave from LA. Just want to thank you all for listening. Mel, check this out. Mel, call me after the show. Mel. So just wanted to get back to some of our callers. If you'd like to jump in on the conversation, give us a call, 866-510-9025, 866-510-9025. And then hit star, and I'll see you in queue, and we'll bring you up. Got another caller from 702. Caller from 702, what's your name, where you're calling from, and what is your question or comment?
Hello, this is Jay from Ohio. I actually thank you for taking my call, and I actually just wanted to comment on what the last caller said. I think his name was Mel. I was actually inquiring about doing the same thing. I'm actually in Ohio right now, and so I'm assuming that things have changed because they were going to put me through the same rigmarole as far as my 401k. So that's all I wanted to add.
Yeah. Things have changed, and there's different rules. A lot of them will only disperse if you sever ties by either being fired, retired, or hired. And I'm gonna just say this about one of the things that we really have to remember about our overall employment. And I say this to the people that I care about, and I care about you. At some point in some time, the system is either going to retire you or fire you, or you're going to leave it. But the system itself is going to retire you or fire you. They have no real allegiance to you at all. You have to really understand that and know that that's what you're dealing with. They're going to retire you or fire you. So that means that you really should at all times, if you're just starting out in your overall employment or whatever you're doing, you have to start to understand the difference between currency and money and have a real discipline towards really saving. And you want to save in things that really do matter. You save in assets. You never save in cash. The perception is that you do that. But that's because man created cash. They have a patent on it. So just for the sister that's there, yes, in getting some of your 401ks, I'm not a financial advisor. I can tell you some of the things that I've done, but yes. But when you look at the overall pension funds, they are in such a dire position. But see, those that are gaining from it, they want to say, no, it's going to be all right. No, it's not going to be all right. The overall, just by looking at the national debt, tells you that the overall economic wherewithal of this country is insolvent. So you need to protect yourself, because if you don't protect yourself, one of the first things that you always have to learn, I think that is critical for us to know, in paying your obligations, your debt obligations, you have an obligation to you and yourself first and foremost. If you pay all your debts and still default, there's not one debtor that's going to come in and assist you in your insolvency. So it's better for you to ensure that you never go insolvent. That should be the most important thing that you, first and foremost, is that you never, ever default on yourself. So now with your 401ks, every place is different. There are different requirements. Some will allow you to borrow against it. And if you're going to do that, make sure you understand, and then make sure you factor that into the overall your overall budget. But I would say the most important investment that you could make is in yourself. Most important investment that you can make in yourself. Now, does that guarantee that you are going to be wealthy, that you're going to be, by way of the economy standards, that you're going to be rich? No, there is no guarantee of that. But what I think is very, very important is that you invest in yourself. Never, and in my opinion, I know it is for me, because I've had a couple of businesses. I actually walked away from a high-paying salary because I was willing to lose it all cash-wise to resonate with who I am. And that has its own relative worth in itself. And so it depends on you, the individual. Now, if you're going to be taking from your 401k, make sure that, and one of the things in taking from your 401k, you should always take from your 401k. Because if you don't take it, the opportunity for it to be lost is even greater now. But not only that, by the time it is for you to if you're under 40, 45, the likelihood of you actually getting any disbursement on that is not high at all. So now, one of the things that I think is critical when we look at that is that you should practice and establish you being your own financial advisor. Because the more you rely on yourself based off the more you know, the better position that you will be in. Because I would ask you this, how many of you have a 401k? And how many of you know the overall hedge fund manager of that 401k? How many of you know that person? How many of you know their name? 9 times out of 10, most people don't know their name. Do you know their drinking habits, their drug habits, their gambling habits? Do you know their moral convictions? Do you know their obligations? Do you know their debt obligations? Do you know some of the things that they're into? And I would say, no. You don't know them. So why would you give someone that you don't know your whole life's earnings? Who do you know? What moral obligations do you know? What drinking habits or gambling habits or moral convictions or do you know? You know yours. So it's much better for you. Who actually earned, who actually worked for the overall payment that you received? You did. Who should be responsible for strategically investing that? You should. No, you don't need to be an expert. You need to be your own expert. And I think it's very, very important. Instead of spending time doing things we like, let's first do things that we have to do. You have to become your own financial advisor. You have to know the ills of economics. You have to know the basics of economics. You have to know the overall global economic movements of things, because that movement, that trade wind or that current of movement economically affects you because you're in that stream. So before you hire a financial advisor, why don't you become your own financial advisor? And then you'll be able to see something. The commissions and everything else will be given to you. So I would definitely say familiarize yourself, first and foremost, in the basics of economy. If you don't know about silver and gold, you know nothing about history, and you know nothing about economy. I don't care if you went to MIT, you went to Harvard, you went this to that, law school and all that. You don't know nothing about economics if you don't know about silver and gold. And you damn sure don't know nothing about history. And it's very, very important that we know those things, because we are going to be moving into the rehashing of history. And that's why it's so important. So become your own financial advisor. If you're going to withdraw from your 401k, I'm not mad at you. But be frugal about it. Be strategical about it. Have a plan, because you still, in my opinion, I think you still have time to devise a plan on what you're going to do with that cash. Make sure you leverage it for your own benefit, to where it will will bring in even more cash, more currency flow, and then and then from that's what you save in real assets. And I think that is something that regardless of who you are, you can do it. There are different entrepreneurial engagements that you can make, but entrepreneurial, engagements aren't for everyone. It's okay to actually work for someone else. But here's the key. Don't allow anyone to pay you a slave's wage and that be the end of it all. Make sure that you save as a king or as a lady and a gentleman. You acquire real assets.
Dave, I just remember something important, and that might help those who ask that question. I did not deal with my company when I withdraw that money from my 401k. I dealt with the mutual fund or the investment fund, whatever name was given. I dealt directly with them. They just sent the check to the company, and that's when I was talking about the white secretary, questioning if this was my money or not. Just give me my check. But so if you're only dealing with the company, you should have or can request, if you don't have, your paperwork, your brochure, your investment fund brochures. They look like travel brochures or something like that, And so I would deal with those. Would they have a 1-800 number or whatnot? So I don't know if that's the route that you went, but that's the route that I went. The only involvement of the company was to pass my check along from the mutual fund investment manager.
Yes, some places have employee relations. Some places have employee relations where you can deal with through your employer, dealing with them. But I would definitely, as Scotty said, deal with the overall fund managing company directly. But they may require that you come back through employees because they may need certain information that you may not have. That your employee relations, every place is different. Hey, Mel, you have something? Go ahead, Mel.
I'm sorry. Because like you said that, your broker, the guy that, goes through your mutual fund or tells you, this is a high yield, this is a...
Yeah, I didn't have a broker. I was dealing with a machine. I was, like Dave was saying, be my own financial advisor. So I was just dealing with the touch tone, you know what I'm saying? The automated system. It was that simple. That was a sleek system, man. But when I was ready to cash out, I called that 800 number, gave them my account numbers and what have you. They verified that I was who I said I was, an employee, because again, you dealing with through the company as a group. So I want to cash out. So, but that's they just verified that I actually worked there and I was leaving and I was cashing out and I got my check. So again, that's why I say this was like, man, that was like, I want to say 20 years ago. Yeah, 20 years ago. My oldest daughter, 25. Yeah. So I'll say 20 years ago.
Yeah, so, and I think that was different, Scotty, because you were leaving.
That's what I was asking.
Okay. Yeah, it's different when you're leaving, when you're separate.
Yeah, I was resigning. They didn't fire me or nothing like that. Now, one thing, though, you brought up about the profit sharing, Dave, I'll share this, and I shared this before when I was working for another corporation, worked my way up into a third shift corporate position. And they had profit sharing. And so I was supposed to get like $3,000 in profit sharing, but I had participated in this black woman's lawsuit against the vice president of the company on the job, sexual harassment. I gave a deposition of what I saw. It wasn't favorable to him. I just simply told the truth. I could have said I didn't see nothing, but I wasn't going to leave the sister hanging like that. So I was dealing with a bunch of retaliation. So then when they let this white dude who on my shift working for me, I'm supposed to be his supervisor, physically threaten me and then try to flip it back on me and like, okay, you gonna sign this and this is your reprimand and you don't fire this person, let alone call the police on them. I could have did that, but I would let the company handle it. So then when I refused to sign, I quit, man. I will quit a job in a minute because I can always find another one with my skills. And so, but they didn't, I said, this is what it was. I said, if I sign this reprimand, am I still going to get my profit sharing? Now, I'm making the most money for the people in this department, okay?
Right.
Based on my production. So, she going to tell me no, the human resources lady. No, you not getting that money. You know what? Well, I quit. So it's like Dave said, my mom was telling me, because she worked there too, she was like, I'll take them to court or what. I was like, I ain't even going to go through the hassle of $3,000. I'll make that on the street selling bootleg Jordans, you know what I'm saying? But but they didn't give it to me, man. So it wasn't my money, was it? Profit sharing.
Nope. It's not yours. So, go ahead, Mel. What were you going to say?
No. He answered my question because I didn't realize he was separating from the company. But can I call you after the show?
Yeah, definitely can. When you were doing a severance, there's a whole lot. They give it to you, but what they'll do is they'll always try to say, well, keep it here and this and that. We can still manage it and all this other stuff, but they have to give it to you. But when you're trying to withdraw from it, like you, Mel, there's different rules and different programs, and every place is different. Some places allow you to borrow from it. Some say you got to have a hardship and all this other stuff. Yeah. It just depends on how important it is to you. Now, it depends. Every person is different, and it's really depending on your age, how much you have, what your overall, what's your disciplines, your financial disciplines, your savings, and everything else. You know, when I left, I used it to start a business, and it was the best thing that I did. Even though my first business was a hard road, but still, what you learn from that becomes so vital. So just know that's very, very important. So we got another caller in queue. But before we go, let me ask the sister from Ohio. Sister, did we answer your question?
I'm sorry, my phone cut out. You said you're going to ask me a question?
Yeah, I'm saying, did we answer your question?
Oh, yes, sir. Thank you so much.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. So, but sister, in doing that, make sure that you look at yourself as far as and find out as much as you can about economics and where things are going, because the climate of investing in economics is very fluent and it's changing. The paradigm is changing. There are definitely things that you need to know. If you look at the economy the way your parents and your grandparents looked at it, you're going to get run over by it because it's totally changed, and because debt default is here now. And this is why this New Jersey article that we'll pick up again tomorrow is so important. So much love, much respect to you, sister. Call back anytime. Would love to hear from you. We got another caller in queue. Roz, go ahead, shoot, brother.
Hey, greetings to you, Dave, and Mel, to the sister, Scotty, all the other callers. Great show. I was just going to say profit sharing is us sharing our profits with the enemy. That's the only form of profit sharing that I've ever seen, is them taking from us and us having nothing, getting nothing in return.
Profit taking.
I wanted to ask if there are ways to invest via a 401k directly into precious metals.
Great question. No. In my opinion. The reason being is because of this. When it comes to precious metals, and I'm glad that you asked that question, Roz, because of this. Just like, remember what Scotty said? At any time they could say no and not give it to you. If you don't control, when it comes to precious metals, you don't need anyone to hold it, to secure it for you or anything else. Because if they do, let me ask you, everyone here that's listening, can you do it? Yes, you can. They have systems to do that. But they also have systems that steal from us. And it's all of us a Ponzi scheme. In my opinion, that's another one. And it's a huge one. Let me tell you how it works. They'll say that they have some systems where you can even keep it at home and everything. Okay, that's cool. But here's the bad part about that, is that it's a IRS thing. It's none of the IRS's business what you did for what you worked for. But they'll tell you it is. See, one of the things with I would also say, and probably the most important thing is this. You never, ever, ever, ever give control of your assets to someone else. The only person that should know about your assets is you and your heirs. Now, what can happen is this, is that those that have those type of things, they have what's called depositories. They have secure places. And they'll tell you that it's going to be secure, it's going to be locked up. Oh, here's the storage fee. You got to pay us storage on this because for us to maintain this high security, you got to pay for it. So all your silver and gold is going to be there and everything else. And then this is what happens. When this economic collapse happens, what is that building made of? It's made and structurally sound to keep people out. Little did you know was that to keep you out too. And when the things go awry, what legal recourse will you have to get your metals back from that overall company that's the depository? One, you won't even know where it is. Two, they'll have a website and a telephone number, and the internet will be down, and their phone, you'll get this message: that number no longer exists. Then what? The most important thing, one of the things that we have to know about the metals is that you can't own it. You can only control it. You can only control it. And if you're not in control of it, if you don't hold it, you have no control over it at all. And I will tell you this, there was a group of people during a very historical time in recent history, and they lived in Germany. And things in Germany started to go awry. And they ran to Switzerland and put their gold in the banks, in the Swiss banks. And they told them to hold it because Germany is becoming unstable. And they are attacking people that we identify as Jewish. And we're Jewish, and so we want to put our gold inside of the Swiss banks. Well, as things came further to deteriorate years after the Third Reich of Nazi Germany had moved to the United States, because that's where they moved to, and they stayed in Germany as well. But when everything was all so-called said and done and the smoke cleared and everything was all well, those families that deposited their gold into Swiss banks, all of a sudden those Swiss banks say, we don't know who you are. Prove that you deposited anything with us. There is no record. Then what you going to do? So I would definitely say control and become your own financial advisor. If you don't control it, that means someone else does. And believe me, they're not going to give you back at the most important time of that you need that insurance and assurances. And this is the one thing I would say. Do you trust that once you give it to them and things go awry, you have a major collapse like Venezuela, or you have a war scenario, which is very moving close to, because that's what they want to do, how are you going to get back what you need at the appropriate moment? You won't be able to get it. If you do know where the depository is, you won't be able to get in because they built it so you can't get in. And you'll probably be met by physical force. And then you'll go up to the gate, and then they'll say, hey, I'm here for my gold. Well, listen, they'll tell you there's no gold here. And then not only that, you need to go back and go by the approved method of getting this. And then guess what? You'll never get an answer. So I wouldn't risk it. Thieves are thieves. And so, Raj, did I answer the question?
Absolutely, absolutely. I appreciate that. I just think that's really important because I'm sure there might have been other people out there who might have been thinking that, because the premise for me was just, like you just kind of said, just putting those sorts of assets in the hands of your enemy who you don't know anything about. And it's already a criminal racket as far as the way the banking system runs. So essentially all of those 401ks and everything are in the hands of criminals who you have no idea what their criminal history is. So definitely, I agree with you on that. And yes, you answered my question completely. Thank you so much for that.
Much love, much respect. All right, everyone, we're going to get out of here.
Oh, Dave, before you go, man, I got to get some breaking news for you. Wells Fargo, which I think has a headquarter, but Wachovia, because Charlotte is like the second largest banking capital in the United States. But Wells Fargo Wells Fargo might go under, man. They're on the verge of collapse with all of that criminality and fraud they've been doing, and it serves them right because they invested. They are like the second largest investor in the private prison companies, Geo Group. And so, and then they go back to the 1800s, and they were been invested in slavery that long. Again, people who don't know me, I believe slavery was never abolished. No, I don't believe that. I know it wasn't abolished because I could read the 13th Amendment. It's not a belief, it's a fact. And so, but I'm watching that. Did you see that? That they are in danger of folding as a company?
No, I didn't see that at all. And I need to, that's something that I need to definitely know. So I'm glad you broke that news because that, I need to know that and take a look at that. And so I'll be researching that as well, Scotty. Great breaking news. And not surprised because this is all going to go by way of everything pretty much. So this is how things are rolling. So, wow, not surprised at all. Not surprised at all. So, okay, everyone, just want to thank you all for listening to Thando Radio Show today. And it's never goodbye. As always, I'll see you later. Much love and much respect. And remember, before you ask for a fortune, make sure to give one away. Much love, much respect. Peace. Talk to you soon.